Good day there, virtual friends. Here I am once again, and today I wanted to share some things about our conditioning and how our experience of reality is seen through the prism of our conditioned nervous system. And that as you start to change these conditionings, seeing what works for you and what doesn't work for you, seeing that a lot of them are put onto you to take your power away, you start to experience reality in a different way. And for reference, I guess, I want to speak to back in 2010, from 2010 to 2012, after I was kicked out of the military and still had a few months left, I was introduced to some substances. I got kicked out, I did my 2 tours, I was a good little boy for daddy for 4 years, almost 4 years, and then I all of a sudden stripped out of my benefits. So it's like at the time, even though it was the best thing for me, but at the time I couldn't see that and I was in a funny way, and so I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna take whatever's presented to me. And so a friend introduced me to some substances. So for 2 years, it was basically a mixture of dextromethorphan, diphenhydramine, whippets, spice melange, for those that are the Dune enthusiasts. Yes, you might hear some rumbles. There's a thunderstorm afoot, even though it's quite sunny, but there's thunder around. But anyways, this time period I kind of call my Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. If you haven't seen that movie, it's quite interesting, quite trippy. Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro maybe? I forget. But it alludes to my experiences in this time because it was wild, it was trippy, I was losing touch with reality, fearing for my sanity, just because everything was becoming so weird. Which, it's a good thing, that's part of the process. And many people talk about that. As you start awakening and confronting your conditioning, you'll be confronting with your sanity. Are you going insane or not? And so in this time period, doing these ingestions and then walking around, I remember one day I was sitting in a bed. We took a lot of diphenhydramine, I believe. And then it was me, 2 friends. We were all just sitting in bed, talking, doing stuff. I don't remember. But then all of a sudden, I teleport. Now I'm in a restaurant, speaking to some woman. We're in a conversation. I don't quite recall the conversation, but eventually I become aware. I start to observe that there is no conversation. She's just like a Charlie Brown parent. The womp, 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 womp. There's nothing being said. And as soon as I become aware of wait, this is absurd. This isn't real. Once I start questioning that reality, I'm teleported back. And now I'm in bed, everyone's sleeping in their beds, and it's just like, wow, where did I go? What happened? How was ingesting a substance alter my consciousness to the point of where I inhabit a whole different reality for a period of time? And I guess it just is a couple more examples of in day-to-day life. Even, I think there was one day I wasn't even tripping. I was out of the military, I was driving in my car through town, and then all of a sudden these cliffs start appearing. All these buildings start turning into cliffs with waterfalls. I could still see this road, I could still see what's going on, but things started to appear in my perception that did not exist in the way of other people's observation. I know this gets really muddy and cloudy, but it's at the time or now, as I've reflected upon these for years, and to say I don't recommend any of these things or ingesting any of these substances to anybody. Right? I'm just sharing my experiences and how I came to this understanding or questioning of things. That reality isn't what you think, and that you can live outside of the social norms just fine. And as an example, I haven't worked a real job since 2016. I've been in Guatemala and Honduras, haven't really worked, no money, things present themselves, be given phones, be given housing, never went hungry. So it's I'm sharing these experiences because I've also experienced life as in different conditioning or outside of those conditionings as I started to question and take leaps of faith into different cultures and countries to experience different possibilities and become aware through experience that many of the things we've been taught are lies, and that you can just go into random places. And even that, I don't recommend doing that, right? Do what's comfortable for you, but also understand that to come to deeper unknown truths, you have to go into the unknown. And so don't let fear stop you, right? You're a spiritual being within inhabiting a human body, and that spirit always continues the solidification of imagination for experience. So I can do another video of that about my death experience at one point. But the conditioning. And that's why, there's a lot of talk about, psychedelics, natural psychedelics, because these are also psychedelics, but the natural psychedelics are much more safer. But I think the ones that I took were much more potent, right? They're actually technically called dissociatives and discognitives, or dissociatives dissociating from reality, discognitives detaching you from your cognition. So they're very much potent. As another example and story, like me and a friend were walking, we were under the influence of things and just kind of playing around in reality, and then we go to another barracks, right? It's all barracks, it's all military infantry. And there's this guy there, but I perceive him as a African-dressed shaman. Of course, he's not an African-dressed shaman, he's just another infantryman, but I'm perceiving that, and he hands me this bowl, the smoking pipe for those that are unaware, and I see maggots in there. And I'm like, I know this is a bowl of maggots. I even speak this out loud. And they all get a chuckle out of it because I'm sharing my internal translation of reality. Like, I know this is a bowl, I see a bowl of maggots, but I know it's not, and so I'm gonna smoke it anyways. And so I did, and carried on with the trip and had our fun. But I guess the point of all this rambling is that psychedelics are a means to detach you from the conditioning bestowed upon you that alters or filters the prism that is your consciousness translating light into form. And that part of the goal, lesson, purpose of our life is to disconnect from that. See the conditioning for what it was. It was meant to hold us back. It was meant to siphon off our power and attention to some external authorities, be them education, be it science, be it religion, be it government, all these different things. And that was the whole game, right? To rob you of your power and to see if you can work your way back. And that's also talked about of you forget yourself. You get caught up in the ego. The ego being the personality construct constructed through life experiences within this body. And the hide and seek game is to, despite that conditioning, that personality is also just another conditioning, a set of conditionings that influence how you perceive yourself. Can you get outside of that, find yourself as spirit, and alter life and see that you can bring light to this world. You can live more of your dream. You don't have to be stuck into the 40 hours a week and retire when you're 60 something, whatever it is, and then by that point in time your conditioning is so solidified that the idea of change becomes nigh impossible. The idea of letting go of those conditionings is pretty much impossible. This is why most people die shortly after they retire, because now it's like, oh, my purpose is gone. I don't understand life outside of work, right? And so all these are tools. Psychedelics are tools to give you a glimpse of the world outside of conditioning. And the thunder's getting quite noisy. The sun's starting to go away. But, and that, some of us experience it and some of us are starting to share it, because it's like, you could do it if you want. I don't recommend some of those dirtier ones. If you're mentally strong enough, because that's a whole other thing, because you have to have a certain mental aptitude to be able to handle the disconnection of what you understand reality to be. Getting shaky. And so it's not recommended for everybody. Yes, there's some dangers involved, but such is life, right? To go into the unknown, you confront the unknown, and the unknown can be seen as dangerous. That's what keeps us away from it. That's what keeps us enslaved in a way, is our fears, right? That's why everything's so scary. Honduras is one of the most dangerous countries in the world, I was told back in the day. And then I lived in Honduras for 2 years, and they're actually the nicest people that I've come across in my travels. Very nice people. Now, I didn't go to the big cities too much, but in the towns, very nice people. Not dangerous at all, never came across anything. Even people, dropping cash on the ground. Hey, you dropped this. They didn't take it, they didn't steal it. So it's like, even this stuff of what you're told about other countries, what you're told about what you're fed, the fear that you're fed to keep you in check. And that part of our lifetime, that's why, the economy, the economic system, how am I gonna live my life? How am I gonna work? How am I gonna do this? It's like, we're being pushed to, get out of here, to detach from that. We're being pushed to confront that. Well, if working your soul away doesn't give you enough or provide you enough to live your life, well, it's time to look for a different way of living life. And that goes into the silliness of the politics that's going on, the silliness of the pandemic thing that happened, and all these different things that are still just meant for fear-mongering, still meant for like last-ditch efforts to maintain control over this simulated experience. Because if you control the thoughts and the feelings of the collective, you control how the collective interprets and constructs reality into what it is. So as more of us wake it up, and as more of us take those leaps of faith of like, hey, you know, this doesn't work, I'm just gonna go sell everything and go to Guatemala, go to Mexico. Mexico's cheaper, so it might be even easier, but wherever you're called, you gotta feel into it. Where do you want, what kind of life do you want to live? And then take steps to try and see what happens. If it's the end of the world anyways, why not? Why not go and live life a little bit? Why not go work on those conditionings that have always been holding you back from living the life that you want? Now there's becoming no more excuses. Oh, but I need to work and do these things. And it's like, yeah, but that's not working anymore. Time to detach, time to free yourself. Anyways, I think that's the end of this ramble. I hope it proved some useful. If you liked it, if it helped you in any way, of course, do those likes, subscribes. I just continue to share my experiences and stories and perceptions and reflections of my experience of reality, in hopes that it helps people to see that there's nothing to fear. Yes, challenges are always there. It's not simple, it's not easy, but it can be done. And I share my story as a testament that it can be done. Like I said, I haven't worked a real job in 8 years. I'm not super rich or anything, but I also don't need to be. Everything's always been provided for me. Never went hungry. Shelters, I've always had shelter, some way or form. Things have always provided themselves, because when you go into that unknown, right, because it's a simulation, it's a simulated experience within holographic perception. And so when you go in with a specific intention, the randomness, the intelligent light that is constructing your simulated experience within holographic perception can show you things, right? But you need a certain intention outside of your conditioning of what you think is supposed to happen, right? Your expectations that influence how or what reality will show you. So you gotta let go of expectations, you gotta go with the intention of letting go of the expectations and your conditioning and your limited belief systems. Telling yourself that I have faith, it's gonna work out, something's gonna work out, something's gonna present itself, something magical is gonna happen, right? Going into magic. Which, why does everyone love Harry Potter and like sorceries and like fantasy stories, right? Because it's a subconscious remembrance that maybe some kind of reality like those things existed, like magic was real and is real, but we've been conditioned against it to think that it's nonsense. And that as you let go of those conditionings, you can actually open yourself up to experience some of these magical experiences that are always available to you. But you just got to shift your perspective to be able to see it. Yeah. Anyways, until next time, enjoy yourselves out there.